All right, it's 103.5 The Beat, Miami's new number one for hip hop, R&B, and The Breakfast Club. I have the honor and the pleasure of having Judge Fred Seraphin here with us today. Thank you.
The honor and pleasure is mine.
Wow.
Okay?
Listen, before we get into anything, I like to dial things back and understand like where things all started. So first of all, I want to start with your heritage. Where are you from?
Oh, goodness. I was born in Haiti.
Nice.
I was there till I was 11 years old. And from there, we migrated to New York. I grew up in Jamaica, Queens.
Oh, which
Make
part?
a long story short, Jamaica.
Okay, because I used to live in Laurelton, Rosedale.
See, that's what we do.
Rochdale.
I started out on Jamaica, and I remember this tiny little apartment that they took me to, and we had to leave, but it was right on Jamaica Avenue.
Got you.
Below that was I think a bicycle or a clock shop or something or other. But we were there in Jamaica, and we traveled around and eventually went to Cambria Heights.
Oh, Cambria, okay.
Queens Village.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, got married. Then we moved to Long Island, Hempstead. And from there, we moved to Miami after I finished law school. So that's a brief story.
Right, nice. So what schools did you go to study law?
I went to Hofstra Law School. I started out, of
Hofstra,
course,
right?
Hofstra in Hempstead.
Yes.
And went to City College of New York.
Nice.
Great experience. It's on Harlem.
Yes.
Great place. Loved it. That's where I got my bachelor's. Before that, I don't know if you know Queensboro Community College.
Of course I know Queensboro. Right. That's where we all get this. Well, right. I didn't get my start there, but that's where most people who live in Queens get their start.
Yeah, I got my start there.
2-year college, what have you. Yes.
That's right. Didn't know what I wanted to do, so I majored in business because that was an easy call, right? I had to get some kind of education. And that's where I got introduced to law. Took a business law class.
Wow, okay.
And the rest is kind of history.
Was it the class that got you interested in law, or maybe something that happened in your life in conjunction with the class?
It was the class because I knew nothing about law. I knew nothing about lawyers. I was, graduated high school.
Right.
From Hillcrest High School in
Hillcrest.
Jamaica. Yeah. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do now?
Right.
And, it was like, well, you got to do something. You can't just stay home. And so I majored in business, marketing management. I took the class and I discovered the profession called law.
Right.
And I decided I could be a lawyer. I went to the library, did some research, said, okay, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. I can get top grades. I can commit myself to this. And that was my introduction to law.
That's what's up. So coming to Miami, what changed? You were a lawyer in Miami. What kind of law were you doing in Miami when you got here?
I got to tell you the real scoop is that I wanted to be a lawyer to make money.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't want to be poor anymore.
Right.
And I figured I wasn't going to get arrested. I didn't want to go to Rikers Island. I didn't want any of that stuff. So I figured I'll commit myself to getting educated and be a lawyer and make a lot of money.
Right.
But Keith, something happened to me in senior in law in college.
Okay.
City College. Brief story, make it short. I got arrested for an armed robbery I didn't commit.
Oh my goodness.
In Kings County, Brooklyn.
So this is why I said, what was your motivation?
What was my motivation?
Most times, not all times, there's some story or something that happened that really motivates somebody to want to, you know what I'm saying? If you're not born into it.
Exactly.
Right.
I wasn't born into it, but I wanted to be a lawyer because I wanted to make money. And, growing up, people would always say, oh, you got a gift for gab. And I like arguing. I like presenting. I like using words. And I had to brush up my skills. But that incident in Kings County, having handcuffs put on, I had to sleep in the holding cell.
Wow.
I went to court the next day, like at 2 o'clock in the morning. Kings County, Brooklyn, they have night court.
Yeah, yep.
And that experience, the first person I spoke to who treated me like good was a legal aid lawyer. And he took my case, and I told him, look, I got 2 jobs. I'm working, delivering newspapers for New York Post. I have another job. I'm selling women's shoes at Alexander's fashion shoe shop.
Alexander's.
I was working on weekends. Yeah.
They had Alexander's in Brooklyn.
Yep. And I was working Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, plus morning, and going to school full time. I said, I got no time for this shenanigan that you guys are accusing me of. And he took my case, and I appeared in front of the judge at the bond hearing. And I walked in, and it was an African-American judge. And I walked in there, and the judge listened to my lawyer's argument, and he actually allowed me to go home and come back at noon that day. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, noon that day, to post a $250 bail. And I did. Case long story, went to a grand jury. Several months later, I received a letter saying the case was dismissed by the grand jury, which means returned no true bill, no indictment.
Right.
And that set my course from going to law to be a lawyer making money to one committed to social service, to serving my community, being a public defender. I wrote that in my letter to the law school. I want to be a public defender.
Because of the experience that you had and you know, the person who treated you nicely and that whole experience, it kind of changed course for you.
It did. It did. Because I realized how quickly one's freedom can be taken away.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm not sharing, and I should, is that this calling that I have to serve justice is that it actually started back in Haiti when my father was elected congressman.
Oh, wow. So your family comes from politics.
But he was not a politician. He was a fighter for the people's freedom. And for that, he went against Duvalier. I don't know if you know of him.
Yes,
the dictator.
I do. Heard of him.
And Duvalier had him murdered. Took him from home, and we never saw him again. I was 11 months old.
Wow.
So I didn't know him. And I grew up without a dad. Then I have a brother who was victimized also by this injustice with Baby Doc, the son now, who takes my brother and locks him up he was a political prisoner for 5.5 years. And those experiences, I realized that had affected me in a way that my commitment to doing justice and serving the cause of justice, knowing how easily your freedom can be taken away from you, how easily government can abuse you, I decided to commit my life to being a servant of justice, first as a public defender, to protect people who, like me, did not have money to hire a lawyer.
Got you. How do you go from being a lawyer to a judge? How does that work? And what was your mind, your thought of making that decision to wanting to become a judge?
Well, I have to first say that, folks, whatever I say, I have to give a disclaimer because, us judges don't have the same freedom of expression that, First Amendment rights like everybody else. We're limited by our oath if we want to keep our seat and not be yanked off by the Supreme Court. So everything I say, when I make a decision in court, I make it based on the law. It's one of my task is to know the law that applies and to apply it even-handedly to the cases that comes before me. The case comes before me, it's not who brings the case, but what case is it and what law applies. Regardless of who it is, I have to treat everybody fairly. So I want everybody to understand that. If I express my opinion, that's not what I use except my legal opinion.
Right.
Not my personal biases, likes, and we all got prejudices.
Right.
We all bring to the bench whatever our history is, our
We're
instructions.
human.
We're human beings. So I have to say that. And I'm a very spiritual person, and I didn't do what I promised I would do always, is give God credit for where I am, because we came from far. It's a miracle. I tell people I represent miracle in what you can be with your life, and my goal is to go around all the time and tell the youth,
spread the gospel.
Spread the gospel. If I can do it, you can too. That's the gospel according to Fred. And you pray, you commit yourself.
Gospel according to Fred.
Yes. You do your hard work. You do what you need to do, what it takes. It's not a sacrifice, but everything has a cost. I don't call it a sacrifice because, success doesn't come easily.
Right.
Maybe for some, if you win the lotto, but that's quickly dissipated too. So my thing is that I trust God to lead me, and He has. And how I realized it was time for me to become a judge is that I was a lawyer for 15 years. And I was a public defender. Then I went out in private practice, but I realized I was still a public defender, except I had all the expenses because nobody was paying me in time. So I went back to the public defender's office. And while I was there, I was on bond hearing duty. And the judge called a name, sounded like a Haitian name. And stepped up this Haitian young man. I say Haitian because heritage, Haitian last name. And I heard, well, remember when you went for your bond hearing and you saw this African-American judge? What if he was to see you up there? What impact do you think that would have? And I hear it in my heart. I go back home and I dwell on it for a long time. And I realized, okay, that was my next calling.
Your next step, yeah.
My next step is that I represent people one at a time. My goal is to protect, defend, and uphold the Constitution, everybody's constitutional rights, That's why I went to the public defender's office. You get some good state attorneys who make the right decisions, but you get some who may not have caught it. Not that they have a bad intention, but maybe they didn't see that law. Maybe they don't know that law. People are fallible. People are not necessarily the best that we can all be all the time. So I went in that area, criminal defense, to be able to protect people's constitutional rights.
Gotcha.
And, you know, having had the experience of being arrested and so forth, this journalist wrote one time, he did an article on me, and he wrote, you know, to understand justice, sometimes it helps to know injustice.
Yeah. So you can have that kind of empathy and, you know.
Right. You identify that people are coming before me, not cases.
Yeah.
One person at a time comes in. That person's case, that case is the most important case in the world.
Mm-hmm. To them.
To them, it may be a traffic ticket.
Right, right.
But, you know, I see them coming up, and you can see how nervous they are, and you can see how afraid they are. They don't understand the system. So my goal is to make them feel like, listen, I'm just a judge. I'm not, you know, some big to-do. We have to show respect to each other, of course. That's normal. That's the protocol we have to observe. But relax, you know, and I tell them right off, you're not going to go to jail, so maybe you can take a deep breath now. You're not going to go to jail, so we're going to address this. At the worst, it's going to cost you a couple of dollars, whatever it is.
Right.
But the idea is that I'm here to serve you.
So what type of judge are you, so that way we can understand as well? Because if you're able to say to people, hey, you're not going to jail, then you have to be a certain type of judge to be able to say that, right?
Well, it's the case that I have.
Oh, okay, case by case.
Case by case.
So in that particular case that you were giving an example,
right?
You can afford it to say that.
Right.
Okay, got you. But not all the cases.
Not all the cases are like
that. Okay, got you. I'll take Judge Seraphin, please. I'm not going to jail.
I don't want to. And you know, some people have said that. Can I have you as my judge? You know,
it don't work like
You're
that.
gonna get to pick who your judge is.
Well, let me say something coming from me, and you don't have to say yay, nay, whatever. You know, based on you know what you can do. I would say, as an African American, Black, whatever you want to call me, it's good to know that we have people of our own you know, under that umbrella, in the sense of not that, you know, we're looking for any special treatment, but it's just like you said, it takes a person of color who's had injustice to kind of be able to understand or empathize and so forth and so on, you know? So I can't even imagine, you know, years ago where maybe, you know, there were no Black judges, there were no Haitian judges, and how a lot of, you know, people were probably wrongfully, you know, sentenced and, you know, and all these different things because people don't understand culture. You know, people don't understand certain things, you know what I mean? Like, we're all coming from different walks of the earth, so how I may do something, be like, well, why are you doing that? But that's what I know from my culture. It doesn't make it right, wrong, or indifferent. It's the same way how we'll call, you know, I always say here in South Florida, with avocado. You call it avocado. We call it pear. You know, another person call it zabica. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Or, you know, or the green thing you buy on the side of the road. Canep.
That's right.
But they call it so many different things.
So many things, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, a person looks at an avocado and calls it a pear. If the person's not from Jamaica, they're going to be like, that's not a pear.
That's not a pear. That's what I'm thinking right
That's
now.
an avocado, right? But if you're in Jamaica, that is a pear.
Oh, my goodness. No
and if
kidding.
you're in Trinidad, that same thing is a zabica.
Zabica.
You understand? So, you know, I say all that to say it's good to have, you know, balanced representation.
It is.
You know, and we have, these jails are just full with young Black men and women. You know, we're a smaller part of the population, but we're the higher part of the population in prison, you know, and, you know,
our goal
disproportionate.
Our goal is to reduce that. We want to end it, you know, and justice means fair to everybody.
Right.
It means applied even-handedly to everyone, regardless of your race and sex and whatever label we attach to that person, because we do that. We love labels.
Yeah.
That's what we use to separate ourselves from others.
So are you the only African-American serving as a county court judge?
I'm not the only one.
Okay.
I'm the only African-American of Haitian heritage.
Got you.
I was the first Haitian-American, African-American, I like to call it, to have been appointed in the state of Florida.
Right.
I think I
Congratulations.
was the second in the United States, and thank you for saying congratulations. But it's a matter of age. It's a matter of timing. It's a matter. I came here in the 70s, and I went to school here. I grew up in the States, and I love this country. I love the opportunity I had here, the free education, the freedom. I tell people that when I landed at the airport, Kennedy Airport, that's when I started breathing. I mean, really, growing up as a child of my dad and my mom and my family, it was kind of felt like this oppression all the time.
Right.
Because of our association with our dad.
Right.
His position and his
So
political
you were able to
things.
breathe when you came to America.
I was able to breathe and was able to enjoy the education in the public schools there.
So let me ask you, so in Florida, judges are voted for. Can you explain that process so
Sure.
my audience can understand?
Right. We have two ways that we can become a judge. And I've been a judge. First, in 2001, I was appointed. You're appointed by the governor after an extensive screening by what we call a committee, judicial nominating committee.
Yes.
9 members. They review your background, your history. They recommend 6 people. When I applied, there were 43. I was 6 that is sent up to the governor, and then the governor appoints the person that he feels or she feels is the best candidate.
Gotcha.
And the other way is to just straight out of elections.
Right.
So as one that was appointed, 2 years later, you're up for re-election. I went a couple of times without opposition. In 2016, had opposition. So you can elect your judge. Some people, to qualify to become a judge, by the way, you have to be in the bar for 5 years.
Yes.
And you have to have a voter's registration card.
Yes.
And live in the county. But that's all it takes to become a candidate. I didn't believe that. Like I said, I was a lawyer for 15 years before I decided that I was ready. The calling was right. I was ready to take on the responsibility of being a judge. Because like I said, these are people's lives that we deal with every day.
Yeah.
So those are the two ways. And elections are coming up. People, I hope, understand how important it is.
So when is your election day?
August 23rd is the last day.
Okay, so the last day is August 23rd, and you feel that, hey, I've done a great job, lifetime of service. You're not banking it on the fact that you're the only Haitian, African-American, but that is, something that people can consider along with the fact that you've done an impeccable job and service.
I have had a great deal of success, I might say, in working with people. I'm a county court judge, and the reason I stayed that all those years is because I love that it's a people's court.
Right.
More people go in there without representation, without an attorney, than anywhere else.
Or anywhere else, yep.
And I enjoy being able to relate. I had a young man who asked me recently to swear him into the bar because it had to be me because of the impact I had on his life 10 years ago.
Right.
That's why he went to law school and became a lawyer.
Wow. And that's the beautiful, that's the true
thing.
Story, the true beauty of everything.
That's right.
Well, listen, Judge Seraphin, I should say Judge Fred Seraphin, because when you guys are up for election and stuff like that, we got to get the full name out there. I want to thank you for your service, first of all. Thank you for your commitment to the people, to the community. I know you've been through a lot. You expressed quite a bit of it, and I could only imagine there's tenfold of that you've had to deal with in your journey. And just also, having to witness certain injustice, but still having to, hold and stay true to your commitment. I want to thank you for all that, because that's a heavy load that you're carrying. Also, thank you for, your accomplishments that you've done here in South Florida. And I wish you continued success, man.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? You sound like a great guy, and sharing your story. I really hope you can continue to serve this community fairly and be a representation. And most of all, like the story you said, encourage other young people to see themselves within you,
That's it. If I can do it, you can too. And that's the message everywhere. And you know what's great about campaigning? Is that I get to spend some time with you over here.
That's
I'm like,
right. Well, listen, in my position, I can't, endorse,
I know.
much love to you and all the best.
Yeah.
And thank you for taking the time to come see me and talk to my audience, man. And I hope they do the right thing. And, any last words you want to tell them?
Yeah, it's our community, it's our society, it's our world, it's our country. And if we don't get involved and take responsibility, we can't regret it later. We will regret it later. So get involved. The younger you are, the sooner you can get involved, the better it is. Then you can take responsibility for your own destiny, for your own future. That's what I say. And it starts with August 23rd. That time you vote. Judges are important to your future.
Make sure you vote, please, man. All right? Be counted in, because if you're not, you're going to be counted out. Trust me. All right? Don't leave any food on the table.
No.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Judge Fred Seraphin, thank you so much,
Keith,
brother. Yes.
my brother, I appreciate
man. Finally,
you,
I heard about you, though, but I finally get to, chop it up with you.
I know, it's great. I'm like a fan of 103.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it.